Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Research Works podcast. We're here at EACD in Galway 2026. We have a stellar lineup. I know I keep saying it, but it's true. What else am I going to say when it's true? And today's guests are people I've been hunting down for quite some time. That sounds a little bit fangirly. I do apologise. But we have important things to talk about here. So on the pod, sitting next to me are two guests, Andrea Guzzetta and Roslyn. Welcome.
Thank you.
It is finally time to talk to both of you about something that's really important and something that I think we all know is important, but the research and the evidence is this whole body of work now, and it's all about vision. Andrea, your name comes up all the time. When it comes to vision, why is vision so important, and what's the work that's been done in this space lately?
Well, vision is important because it's probably the first strong channel of experience for a baby when he's born or she's born. And it drives a lot of important things from the start, including starting maybe from interaction with mom and dad.
That's right.
That's so essential for development. So having that channel vulnerable and impaired, it's a big challenge for the baby who doesn't know exactly how the world looks like and needs to understand basically that being born is fun, is good, is beautiful. And so we have to support that initial effort of the baby, helping them to see better from the start.
That's wonderful. And I love how you tied it back to the F words there. Really lovely, because it is so important, isn't it? What have been the greatest developments in this space, would you say, in the last few years?
Well, for sure, we learned that first of all, you can actually assess vision from the very early, from the beginning. And we also learned that the quality of vision is actually correlated with long-term outcome, especially cognitive outcome.
Wow. Yep.
So these things pushed a lot research in the space of supporting vision from the start. Until like 50 years ago, there was this idea that if vision is not very good at start, you should try to not to use it very much, so you spare it. But that, of course, is in conflict with how neuroplasticity works. If you don't use something, you lose it, and that applies very strongly to vision, to relationships. So we completely changed the scheme now, and we are very intentional in promoting visual experience from the start in babies.
That's incredible. Even as you say that, it seems, I guess that's been the teachings and the research you have done. Who would have thought to not use it, to preserve it, right? And it just shows how far the field has actually come in this time. A general question here, we're talking about vision. And when we talk about vision, how does this relate to CVI? Like, are we talking about CVI here, or are we talking about vision as a whole?
Well, CVI is one umbrella term to define all visual difficulties that are related more to the brain and less to the eye.
Sure.
But especially in young infants, to identify CVI for sure, to make sure that the difficulties we're seeing are related to CVI or to, it's not so easy, and probably is not even so important, meaning that we have to target the different aspects. So if there's a peripheral problem, there will be some types of intervention. If there is a central problem, other types. But what we're really interested in is making vision relevant for those babies. So whatever strategy is making them aware of their visual abilities and that they can use them to participate in experiences and in relationships and so on. It doesn't really matter to put the label so early.
Sure.
We can wait, but we have to be aware that CVI is a big thing because more than half of the brain deals with vision in one way or another. So
that's such a great point, because sometimes labels means that we have to wait for the label, and whilst you wait for the label, you're missing out on really important opportunities. So I get what you mean. We don't need to necessarily label it. Let's kind of get on with it and see what we can do in the meantime, which really flips it on its head again, because CVI, vision, I think this historically, you wouldn't think you could do much about it. I think when I was training, that's for sure what I think, shamefully, what we might have thought is that if a child does have a vision impairment, unless you give them glasses, there may not be very much that you can do. But I guess this leads to the work that you're both doing now. Ros, I've known you for a while now. You mentor me. It's fantastic. You keep me in line. And all the work that you have done, it's been so broad and so well-ranging because we're thinking about development here as a whole. How did this partnership come about? Maybe let's start there.
Well, it was over a steak dinner when we had to discuss the terms of Andrea's visit to Australia back in 2009 with Giovanni Cioni, and it was going to be for 12 months or maybe more. No, I met Andrea, I think before that we were doing work together in similar areas, but we were always interested in early identification. I was always very interested in Andrea's work with vision because I thought it was something, you know, if over nearly 70% of children who have a later diagnosis of cerebral palsy have a visual problem, we need to be getting it early. And I think Andrea's group and others around him have been the ones that have helped us to identify it early and to start to identify different components of it. And then start to think, how do we incorporate this in a sort of vision-aware intervention? Because it is baby's first skill. It is. I think it's completely underserved. And if it's one of the most important studies we've done together, I think it's one of the most important studies that we'll ever do if we can sort of implement this internationally, because most people just don't know really how to identify what visual skills the baby has and how they might help to promote those. And I think it's often very subtle and a little bit more complicated, but I really like the way Andrea's team have developed this program.
Wonderful.
I had to twist his arm very hard to do a randomised trial because I said, you know, you guys know how to do this, but most people don't. And we need to show that it works.
Efficacy here is really important, isn't it? So just going back on that then, how early can we detect now that there's a vision impairment, and how are you actually doing that?
Well, you can. Let's start from a sort of a typical low-risk baby starts to explore the environment from the very beginning. We can see that even if their vision is not, it's a bit blurred, is not, of course, as good as in 3-4 months. They already use their vision to capture what happens around them. So. And they do that by being able to fixate a target for some seconds. And that's one thing that is missing in babies with initial difficulties. Of course, you never know whether they are specifically visual or there is a more general impairment, more general sort of not well-being of the baby that leads to that, but you can easily see those first signs. And then in the following weeks and months, you can see difficulties in fixating, in following, in shifting gaze. Often this is one of the first signs that parents notice because they struggle not being able to have visual contact. That's very frustrating for a mum and for a dad. So that's often the first sign that they... So you can actually fairly soon understand there is a difficulty. And it's very important to do that because then you have a lot of strategies that can improve this. And parents can immediately see the difference. And this really changes the relationship.
And the parents can be the ones that carry it out, like in terms of the actual intervention.
Absolutely.
Well, shall we talk about the intervention then? So Visible, as a randomised control trial, describe that to me, Ros, in terms of an RCT. What does it actually look like?
So one of the important aspects was to identify the babies really early. So we picked babies who had a higher chance of cerebral palsy. So based on the general movements and early assessments, we identified those babies. Then we also looked at potentially in some of their early observation of their visual behaviour during the early general movements assessment. We noticed babies who weren't fixing and weren't necessarily following, and therapists started to say to us, we think this baby's got a problem. So then Andrea's developed a lovely PISA infant battery for vision, which was our first assessment, very comprehensive, to identify exactly what challenges the baby had. And then we could contextualise the intervention to fit with what the baby's skills were and where they were at. So it's a typical randomised controlled trial. Obviously that's challenging in some settings because there's not a lot of sort of care as usual, but we wanted to show whether this additional therapy would make a difference. So it's a add-on to what the usual care might be. Noting that many of these babies would not be identified anyway. So being in the trial was an added bonus. It's then delivered by a therapist visiting in the home under Andrea's team's guidance and sort of just what is the optimal conditions, particularly starting with the mother-infant interaction and how we're best going to promote that those skills.
And so what was the dosage, I guess, what were the time points of assessment? What was the T1?
I mean, it's a sort of, it's not a high dose intervention, but it is because it's the mother working with the baby. And so it's very much the therapist supporting and coaching the mother on how to work in that interaction with their baby in the optimal environment. So it was a weekly to fortnightly home visit. So that it was done in context and modifying the environment for optimal vision for the baby. And working very closely with the mother to support the mother. So obviously the mother's doing this every day, all day. So, you know, and they could immediately see how it worked. You could see from them taking videos for each visit how well they could understand and follow what was needed. And we've done this study in multiple settings, both in India, in Georgia, in Eastern Europe,
I can imagine based on that intervention,
Australia,
scalable,
and
different contexts.
Italy, and then in Cincinnati. And so it's been a study that's been quite possible to translate with those settings because we had the links with Andrea's team.
And how long did it take to see the changes in the scoring? Like what did that look like?
Of course, we didn't do the outcomes and analysis until the end. But the parents and the therapists could immediately see changes. You know, each visit they could see a new skill. The parents could see a new skill. And, you know, often these babies have quite severe cerebral palsy, so they had to wait and give them more time to respond. But, you know, they could already see them starting to, in the right light conditions and right environment, start to fix and follow and track.
That's amazing.
And do some really, lovely interaction.
Really important, isn't it? And so these infants were all less than 12 monmonths?
They started before 6 months corrected age.
6 months, right. Okay.
We tried to start them as early as possible. But all of them had probably were at least 3 months because they'd had fidgety general movements assessment.
Okay. And from an intervention perspective, Andrea, what's the process for therapists to learn how to do this intervention? Obviously, within a study, there's support within that as well. What does it actually look like?
Well, Ros mentioned several times the team. You need a team of people that is behind and that is organized and that is multidisciplinary. And because, of course, we are looking at a holistic approach in which you need to understand the different aspects. So when we began, we had a team of therapists going to Australia first, and then disseminating. Ros is an exceptional team of therapists that were very keen in understanding all the nuances of the intervention. And I want to mention one person in particular that has been with me in all these processes for more than 25 years. She's a senior therapist, Adina. She would be here sitting in my spot if she was here, because she really had all this experience, and you really need experience to understand and then to systematize all the feedback that babies and families give you, because this is an extremely personalized intervention.
Yeah, that's right.
That changes almost week after week because you have to. But the good thing, answering your question, is that families can be engaged very effectively because it is really learning how to read the signals of the baby and to learn some basic principles of neuroplasticity.
Yeah.
And then the parent is the best person to personalize, to make it ideal for their baby once they understand.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's really a teamwork with families that are at the center, and I think we saw that very well in Australia, where there were a lot of recruited babies in different settings, and this alliance was so critical.
And I think it's very more, isn't it? The family connection and working together.
Yeah, and it's not just as simple as modifying the environment and changing the lighting conditions or making the toys more obvious. It's really understanding those subtle skills, those subtle reading of the baby. So I spent a long time with a young paediatric ophthalmologist who came from India, Swetha Philip, had enormous experience to learn about the assessment and the subtle signs that you were observing. So that's what we explained to a lot of the therapists too. Like, what was the baby doing from the assessment that gave us an idea of exactly what the baby could observe or not observe, and how should we facilitate that in the home environment. And it's not something you just get out of a manual or a book. It's actually really learning through the cases, we had a community of practice with each of the teams in the different countries where we'd see videos, Andrea's team would give feedback, we'd give support. So that we could, it was very interactive.
You need to keep using it. You have to have that community of practice. And just doing the course once doesn't mean you can do it. It's about doing it together, right?
No, and it's otherwise you won't get the same effect.
That's right, yeah.
And it's so...
The fidelity of the intervention here we're talking about.
Absolutely. And Andrea's going to spend the next year in Copenhagen on a sabbatical. So that's the sort of plan, to finish off a sort of training package, modules, and also probably to conduct a bigger multi-site trial, because we know that this is a first pilot study.
Yeah, sure.
We've shown some good effects on vision and some promising signals on development. So we need a bigger multi-site trial, and there's a lot of people who've come up to us even this morning,
I bet,
to say how keen and interested they are. But, you know, it needs the training, it needs the interaction and a community practice.
That's fantastic. So what would your advice be, because doing this work is so integral, we need to understand the elements of it, we need the fidelity of how this is going to be carried out, because it's an important skill, right? We want to harness it in the right way. So for the clinicians that are listening, or families that are listening, go, I want to be part of that, I want to do this. We're known to be very impatient as creatures. What can you advise they can do in the meantime? Like, are there things that they can learn, or how can they connect with, and how can they be involved in studies, I suppose, is the next part of it?
I think the first thing they need to do is learn how to assess vision in young babies. And how to observe babies with their spontaneous visual abilities and where there might be a challenge. Then it's a challenge to find the right person to assess that in more detail, because that is in experienced hands of a few people. So that's the kind of next thing we've got to build, because if you don't have the right assessment, you don't know how to target the intervention.
That's right,
So it's not just as simple as, you know, learning it from a manual, how you might deliver the intervention. That's a really critical element, is understanding what the baby can do. And then I think, getting people involved in a clinical trial where they have the right support to ensure success, you know, with the babies that they work with. But it would be an implementation trial, so it would be looking not just at further efficacy, but also how do we implement this to be successful, not just, you know, putting it out there as a module of training. It really needs a sort of community of practice to have that feedback.
Well, I'm putting my hand up. Thank you. I'd love to be part of that. It sounds phenomenal. And my question was going to be where to from here, but it sounds like you've got a lot of things planned.
Yes.
This international trial, when do you think that might start? Are we looking for funding? Have we got funding?
No, we're looking for funding. We'll be looking particularly at the international and European grants. And something, you know, if people are interested, they should be in contact with Andrea and I.
Yes.
Because, you know, it'll take a bit of work to get that up, but we've had some good success with European grants, and the Born to Get There grant really helped us with this part of the study.
Wonderful.
We did some pilot work within the Born to Get There program, so that was great. Yeah.
Oh, it's very exciting work. And I mean, I've seen your presentations, and it is something that certainly makes us really want to think more broadly, not to be too narrow, and know that it's actually possible. Because even just knowing that it's possible and that these changes, because it's neuroplasticity, it is possible.
Yes.
You know, it just changes conversation. And so congratulations on the work that's been done and work that's about to happen. Before we finish up, I'm asking everyone this question because it's an F-words based conference. And so for you, maybe based on the work that you're currently doing, what would your advice be, Andrea and Ros, on how clinicians can best integrate the F-words into their practice? What would your advice be on that?
I think the advice is from the point of view of the vision-aware interventions and the vision-aware behaviour is the future. Babies' first visual skills is the window into the baby's brain.
Yeah.
And it's a window into their future possibilities, not just vision but cognitive and their whole development.
Yeah.
I mean, if we don't get that right, their future won't be quite the same. So I think it's very much future.
Yeah, that's
I'm not
right.
sure if Andrea's got an extra word to add.
I completely agree, of course. And I think that the F-words sort of paradigm fits very well with what we're doing in Visible, because, of course, all the effort is to make from the start these babies more engaged and more happy to experience life. So all
That's right.
F-words, starting from, of course, the future, I think are very well fitting. So clinicians that love and embrace the F-words paradigm will feel very at ease in using Visible.
I love that. And it's so true. Like, if we can think about what we can use to engage our young children very early on, it's what is fun and therefore what is motivating. And they, you know, if we can help them to understand what motivates them, it's the gateway to so many possibilities. You know, there's no point just thinking about a motor intervention in isolation. It makes no sense. So
No, absolutely.
I love that you've put it into that context as well. So thank you so much, Andrea and Ros, for
Pleasure.
being here on the podcast. Hope you all enjoyed that as much as I did. There's so much to learn from this. And once again, the F-words are just so foundational in a lot of our thinking. It's a beautiful lens to look at things. So we'll keep a lookout for this RCT when it's going to be published, and stay tuned for more information. I'm sure we'll keep in touch about how we can get involved in the future as well. So I'll talk to you all again really soon. Thanks, everyone. Bye.